Hello, this is Ben, Cape Crusher again. Um, Today I want to talk about why there is a connection between Western continuous um, decline in controlling other countries to accept King Dollar. And as a result, Western tentacles, especially the US, has launched its PR war campaign, psychological campaign on the citizens at the same time while that is going on in the background to not only distract but only to further wins the hearts and minds of the population by demonizing Chinese people, China itself, with garbage reports like these. So-called Chinese police stations, which I have heard before, that was trying to derail relations in regions like Africa. I heard this before in Southern African countries. Southern African countries that used to have strategic ties with the West in trade. And now you have the emerging rise of BRICS. This, these things, this crap, this bullshit popped up there last couple of years. I do remember. If you type in this stupid crap, you will see the year. Because who will be smart enough to fucking believe FBI? The FBI that have been lying to you for a long time. A long time. I can go all the way back to 9/11. I can go all the way back to pre 9/11. They've been doing this kind of bullshit for a long time. They did this in the past. This was 5 fucking years ago. Their own fact checkers. Their own fact checkers had to debunk this propaganda, Western propaganda, in South Africa. Oh, the Chinese opening police stations in South Africa. Well, it's false. No, the Chinese are not opening police stations in South Africa, and they will never do in other countries other than their own. They are demonizing Chinese people. What they are doing, what the US is doing, is targeting not only Chinese students, they're targeting Chinese people who look quote unquote Chinese. This is this racist Yellow Peril propaganda we are seeing taking place, and it's dangerous. This is fascism. This is where liberties, civil liberties, is crippling. Is removing in the US. They're being threatened day by day, crushed. They are coming for American citizens who happen to have Chinese heritage. And they will do it to other people. They will do it to, they are racially profiling. They are doing it, they're going to do it to everybody. This is the trick. This is the same divide and conquer tactics. Anglo classic. When things are not going well for them, things are falling apart. And funny enough, I can't even get back to Twitter. Well, now it's loading to see what the hell is going on. This is the same tactic they do. These NGOs, these goons in the intelligence community that are serving oligarchs, masters' feet in the Western Anglosphere world. People, you keep falling for the same old crap. And it's hilarious. It's hilariously fucked up. It's sad. They have a history of embedding terrorism, lying, spying and covering up. Look what they did to fucking Haiti. Talk about investigating. Investigating Haiti. This is the same fuckers. Covering up the assassination of a president. This is the same FBI, that stupid, pathetic old is calling, in old media, is calling for FBI to investigate. So-called China cover up. I can't even find it now. If I can find it, let me search it there. If there's some such this bullshit. Human rights crap. They know what the fuck they're doing. Let me log back. Let me find something. I don't know where to log back. Let me find something. What's this? This is crap. This is bullshit. Who would believe that crap? This one with establishment tick that is safe on Twitter. People like myself, descent, real Western descent, who have, Western descent, censored, kicked out, locked out, silenced. And they push shit like this. Of course, they have to put this man. The Democrats working with the Chinese. What does that remind you of? The same single business, big business party of the other flavor. That flavor. His Chuck Schumer's flavor. Talking about the Republicans working with the Russians. This Cold War bullshit rhetorics. Same old shit. When they feel like doing it, because people are stupid. They're stupid enough to believe it. Sheeple are stupid enough to believe it. hot trend. We still believe that the Chinese did all this, destroying the US, destroying the dollar for their New World Order mythologies. These same ones that blame China for the COVID we created. We created and sent to Wuhan military games, not created by Chinese to unleash in December 29th. Bullshit. I wrote about that. I wrote about that. Read it. Part 1, December 2019 to April 2020. Ground Zero target of Rockefeller Operation Lockstep. And that includes, what's the other one? London School of Economics model. They both played a massive role, these institutions, in facilitating this strategy in order for the World Economic Forum. This World Economic Forum was involved directly, included among other players, in its own Event 201, Rona Games, Sire, unleashed inside the Wuhan military games. And we all know what the Americans was doing down there with the Ukrainians. That has been exposed by the Russians. You are all way behind the curve. All of you are fucking way behind the curve. They sent you a fucking warning, 15th of April. This is not, is all fraud. This is not false hopium. This is not, they're all in it. As if the world is monolithic. Our economic system is clear and is sound with philosophy and how we conduct international relations and business at the international level. And many countries today do not want this shitty unipolar order. And this is why they are running heather-scatter like headless chickens, because chickens are coming home to roost. And they want to stop this process from happening. But they can't do jack. Their money is not up there like the good old days. Nobody wants American money. Nobody wants Western money. It's crap. They offer nothing. We haven't laid one infrastructure, one brick, one tangible to the developing world, developing South, emerging East, the global South, the global East. We absolutely do jack. But speculate, do hot money, speculations, pump and dump, all sorts of financial fraud and scams and criminal activities and wars and bombs and disease after the whole litany of the same old destruction of countries across the globe. What the fuck are we offering? This is the same people that are fucking begging begging the Chinese to slow down treasuries. Well, guess what? They're not listening to your stupid ass. Your destructive, deliberate sanction policy that is pushed by big business to make economies scream. In reality, this is an inward project by World Economic Forum to make our economies scream. This globalist hijacked UN man under this bullshit, making up the rules-based system. This international making up the rules-based system is talking at countries. We will not allow the yuan to take over US dollar. This is from his mouth. I'm not saying this out of my fucking asshole. Go and watch it. Let me review you the realities here.
Recently released data from the U.S. has revealed that the amount of U.S. Treasury bonds held by foreign investors fell once again in February, with at least 22 countries selling off their holdings.
2 months ago.
Overseas central banks have sold more than $83.1 billion of U.S. Treasury bonds, reducing the total amount held by foreign investors to $7.34 trillion. The size of the U.S. national debt has already reached its limit of $31 trillion, with foreign investors accounting for 23% of all U.S. Treasury bonds. The U.S. Secretary of the Treasury has warned that there is a risk of default if the debt ceiling is not raised. Countries around the world are selling off U.S. Treasury bonds. At least 22 countries sold off U.S. Treasury bonds in February, with Japan having increased its holdings in January only to reduce them by $22.6 billion in February, selling off a total of $24.8 billion. China, the second largest holder of U.S. Treasury bonds, has sold them off for 7 consecutive months, selling off $10.6 billion this time and a total of $192.1 billion. Other G7 countries have also been selling, with the UK having sold $25.3 billion and Canada having sold $18.8 billion. In total, China and the G7 have sold a combined $83.1 billion. Israel has...
Miro is a shared canvas on which your entire team can work together wherever and whenever.
Also sold off U.S. Treasury bonds, having sold off $27.1 billion and currently holding $42 billion, selling off 40% of its holdings. On April 17th, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy stated that the U.S. national debt is like a ticking time bomb. The House of Representatives will pass a bill in the coming weeks to raise the debt ceiling, but it will involve cutting spending. The U.S. government must accept budget cuts in order to raise the debt ceiling. All have not been able to reach an agreement on the issue. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has taken extraordinary measures, such as pausing debt issuance and halting investments in federal retirement funds to prevent a default, but these measures will expire in early June. Recently, the risk of the U.S. defaulting on its debt has been increasing. At the same time, the Fed's continuous rate hikes since last year have led to a continuous decline in U.S. bond prices, causing countries around the world to sell off U.S. bonds. Facing the potential debt crisis, the U.S.'s allies have not been supportive and, in fact, have worsened the situation. In an interview on April 16th, the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury warned that using the U.S. dollar as a tool for sanctioning other countries could harm the dollar's hegemonic status. More than 60 countries around the world are actively trying to de-dollarize to reduce their dependence on the dollar, and this trend is rapidly growing. Russia was the first to propose this idea. After the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Western countries froze over $30 billion in oligarch assets and over $300 billion in foreign exchange reserves. This has caused economic difficulties for Russia while showing other countries the danger of US dollar hegemony. By using the US dollar as a tool to sanction other nations, the US has caused other countries to reassess their international reserves. Small and dollar-dependent countries are particularly vulnerable to US sanctions if they hold different opinions from the US. This is why French President Macron has called on the EU to reduce its dependence on the US. After World War II, the US implemented the Marshall Plan to help rebuild the European economy. However, the US is not a charity organization, and the influx of dollars into Europe led to the acceptance of the US dollar and suppressed the development of the European economy. The same tactics were used to control Japan, South Korea, and other countries. The US is merciless in its attacks on countries that refuse to comply with the US dollar hegemony, such as Cuba.
A targeted country.
However, the US is beginning to realize that its sanctions against Russia will have unprecedented repercussions for the US dollar's hegemony. Therefore, the US seems to be compromising with Russia, with the UN spokesperson recently publicly stating that it is pushing for Russia to rejoin the SWIFT system. However, this is undoubtedly a move to bring Russia back into the SWIFT system and not a charitable act.
They're desperate now.
The sanctions against Russia have already caused significant damage to the US, shaking the dollar's hegemonic position. Nevertheless, the global trend of de-dollarization continues to accelerate this year. After all, no country wants to be subject to arbitrary control by others. Since the beginning of this year, the trend towards de-dollarization seems to be accelerating globally. Saudi Arabia has publicly stated that it will use non-dollar currencies for oil trade or other transactions.
Go on.
China and Saudi Arabia have completed their first-ever yuan-denominated liquefied natural gas transaction. As early as January, Argentina and Brazil proposed a plan to create a common currency in South America, calling for regional integration. In April, Malaysia and India reached an agreement to settle their trade using their own currencies. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar has called for the establishment of an Asian monetary fund to break free from the US dollar's shackles. These signs indicate that countries around the world are becoming increasingly dissatisfied with US dollar hegemony. Currently, foreign investors hold 23% of US treasuries, while the Federal Reserve and its related departments hold a high proportion of 40%. Over the past 2 years, the Federal Reserve has become the largest buyer in the US Treasury market, despite the result of its own loose monetary policy. During the pandemic, the Federal Reserve injected a large amount of money into the market, although some of it flowed overseas to avoid domestic inflation in the United States. However, the inflation rate in the United States is still high. In order to curb inflation, the Federal Reserve chose to continue to raise interest rates. But this has caused a series of chain reactions, including countries around the world selling US treasuries, which caught the United States off guard. Eventually, the Federal Reserve had to passively take over the large amount of US treasuries sold by other countries. Of course, the majority of US treasuries are purchased by US citizens and institutions. If US treasuries default, the main buyers will still be ordinary Americans. However, facing the approaching US debt ceiling, the US Treasury Secretary has been in a dilemma. Janet Yellen has repeatedly requested to visit China in hopes of easing China's selling of US treasuries and increasing its gold holdings. However, China has chosen to turn a blind eye. Recently, UN Secretary-General Guterres spoke at the World Economic Forum, calling for global solidarity, but at the same time stating that the Chinese yuan cannot become a common currency. As soon as the words Guterres spoke at, Yellen has repeatedly requested to visit China in hopes of easing China's selling of US treasuries and increasing its gold holdings. However, China has chosen to turn a blind eye. Recently, UN Secretary-General Guterres spoke at the World Economic Forum, calling for global solidarity, but at the same time stating that the Chinese yuan cannot become a common currency. As soon as the words were spoken, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov hit back, stating that the de-dollarization trend was unstoppable and countries were accelerating this process. As the UN Secretary-General, Guterres has not prioritized the greater good and has repeatedly shown signals of being pro-American. This has already violated the most basic principles of the United Nations and has raised doubts about its credibility among many countries. Countries around the world have already expressed their protests and dissatisfaction. It's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to support.
You know why BlackRock and Vanguard, State Street, the big three, are getting so desperate? And then they're telling Macron, the US and the Western collective, telling Macron to take back his words and apologize. No, I think Macron ignored that. The ship is sinking. It's already sinking, and they can do nothing about it. I tried to find another assassination thing. You know, this was 6 days ago. These tactics, because they're not accelerating faster in getting Japan to use Japan to militarily, geopolitically counter China. So they get these patsies to do another trick, to do another one, like last time when Abe, oh, I forgot. Yeah. How long was that? July 2022. No president. I mean, there you go. Doing another tactic when he publicly stated, that in the next few weeks, Kenya economy is going to be very different.
Do you know what's hiding in your business's data? Companies of all sizes use BigQuery to uncover
the dollar constraints, not just in our economy, but globally. That as a government, we have made innovative intentions and have taken innovative strategy to ensure that we ease the burden of availability of dollar in our market. We just concluded last week an arrangement, a market-driven arrangement in our fuel sector that will see Kenya access all our fuel needs on a deferred 6-month credit. That will eliminate a demand of $500 million every month from this market. And therefore, for the people who work numbers, I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. You better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks. And secondly, we, through the central bank, we are having conversations to reinstate the interbank exchange market that has since not worked. And I am happy that the players in that sector, including our banks, are coming forward and they are participating.
There you have it. That's why the NGOs are coming out. That's why you have enemies within the country that are working with the West, trying vigilantly, like they do with all these poor countries. They buy off these officials, some of these, these officials that so-called, are so-called oppositions that are at the behest of Western interest to slander leaders and governments that are not bending to Western and US interests. And this, in particularly, the monetary interests today. Yeah, because in the West eyes, President Ruto is ruthless and untrustworthy. You can watch the video right here. I will send you links there. But you get my grift with this. So, and also, this wet market BS. There's a channel.
So, Andrew, the latest theory.
Canada simultaneously on and off. This has been going on for months now. Past month, particularly to bring back bullshit old news.
A new report from an international team of virus experts say they have found genetic data from a market in Wuhan, China. A new report from an international team of virus experts say they have found genetic data from a market in Wuhan, China, linking COVID-19 with raccoon dogs for sale there. Now, the World Health Organization is responding to the latest information about the possible origins of the deadly virus, and the CBC's Natalie Kalata is working on the story and joins me now. So, Natalie, what is the
I don't have to go through it. You can watch the video here. This is a video from Truth Teller Free Thinker. I suggest following him on his platform debunking bullshit Western media on China, because a lot of things you hear and see in the controlled mainstream media that we criticize, as group thought leaders, we criticize the mainstream media. But as soon it's something that this oligarchs put out there that tell you to jump, that tell you to hate, you go right ahead and follow and do the exact thing they do. Putting you back into the fold, the mainstream fold. And that's exactly what they've been doing. This old sham, this COVID, so-called COVID skeptic community, I don't trust and believe anymore. I'm, pushing these nonsense narratives, propaganda narratives about China. Do you want to be reminded? Do you want to be reminded? This is from their mouths. This is from their mouths. Congress proposes $500 million for negative news coverage of China. This is an article from last year. An effort to counter malign influence, to fund negative coverage of the Belt and Road Initiative. This is a way of stopping an emergence of multipolarism. To continue this imperial hangover of unipolar that is dying out rapidly every week, day in, day out in this recent past year. Since our disgusting proxy war, psychological campaign to get Europe captured. To destroy our basic needs. Like stopping Russia's wheat, destroying the pipeline, the Nord Stream, 1 and 2 pipeline, so we can pay for high, exorbitant prices of energy. Then they lied blatantly to our face and think it's okay. Oh, it's all right. It's just 1%. Inflation is just 1% down. Calm down. No, we're not going to calm the fuck down. They think we're born yesterday. I can't find it, but some stupidness coming from fucking these media outlets, these media houses in the West. They are deliberately destroying our basic needs. And every time people just fall for bullshit like this. You don't believe the mainstream media, but the next day you believe the mainstream media. When it comes to China, of course. Pretend. It's including the so-called anti-war people. I don't believe the mainstream media, but I believe the mainstream media when it comes to that evil fucking China, that evil commie China. Oh, yeah. Oh, I need that quote. I need that quote. Do you think he was talking about the working class? Do you think he was talking about the working class winning? No. You're not winning. And any influencer online and that thought group leaders telling us we're winning because you see a few protests in Europe and you think you're woke online, then you're stupid. You're not fucking winning. These people are 10,000 steps ahead of you. You are way behind the curve. That's a quote for you to be reminded of. Every time you believe such bullshit of Chinese police in our Western countries, pulling that crap, pulling that old ass crap. I'll put all the links. Their own fact checkers. And this have been repeated twice in a row. And this was under motherfucking Trump. Yeah, Trump era. John Bolton era. Mike Pompeo era. You are the same guy, the same administration that gave us Operation Warp Speed is telling you lot to blame China for that. Yeah. Yeah. Public-private partnership. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, where did I see that before? Where did I see that before? Can't find it, but it was somewhere about our mission shit. There you have it. Fuck off. I'm all tired of your bullshit. I'm just tired of all of your bullshit. Just get the fuck out of here. Just get the fuck out of here. Good night. Fuck off. Bye.